You want to make sure that you know and have some kind of good idea about your unique ability. This is the things that you're good at and you like and you want to get better at. Now, when I talk about offloading the 80%, just to dive into this and just give an explanation again, when we talk about 80%, this is the 80-20 principle or the Pareto principle for many of you that know this. It's that what 20% of things can I focus on that will give me the majority of the results? Welcome to the Path to Passive podcast, where we talk about building wealth and empowering lifestyle through commercial real estate investing for tech professionals. I always wish that other tech professionals reaching financial freedom had documented their journey along the way, so I'm doing it for the rest of us. Join us as we explore stories, many failures, and lessons learned along the way. I hope you enjoy and subscribe. Hey, what if you could work 100 hours a week while only putting in 40 hours of actual effort and still have time and energy left for the things that matter most? Sound impossible, right? Well, in today's episode, I'm going to show you how virtual assistants can make that a reality. And by the end of this episode, you'll know exactly how to leverage virtual assistants to free up your time, increase your energy, and focus on the things that matter most. I'll share specific ways to use them in your personal life, your investing journey, and even learning new skills such as investing. This episode is part of our education series where the goal is to provide you with the actionable knowledge and strategies that you can use right away, and also builds on the last episode that I did about discovering your unique ability, understanding what you're naturally great at and what gives you energy. Knowing your unique ability helps you know yourself better, work with others more effectively, and delegate tasks more confidently as well. As tech professionals, we're constantly looking for more freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships, and freedom of purpose. The four freedoms Dan Sullivan talks about. But here's the thing. You're not going to achieve any of those freedoms doing everything yourself. There's simply not enough time and not enough energy for yourself either. One of the best ways to get your time back is by offloading tasks that fall into the 80% of those lower value, repetitive tasks that someone else could be handling for you, and which might be something that they love to do more as well. So enter the virtual assistant. Today, we'll cover exactly how you can help you win back your time, improve your personal life, accelerate your investing journey, and unlock new skills that you've been putting off because you simply haven't had the time, energy, and just made those trade offs instead. By the end of this episode, you'll have a clear, actionable ideas and how you can use a virtual assistant with some of the exact areas of life and business that they can transform. Let me take you back to a time when I thought I had to do it all by myself. I was juggling my day job in tech, like many of you, trying to figure out what I wanted to do for my side business, learning about investing. I was doing all my own emails, scheduling meetings, and other tasks as well that frankly someone else could have been doing instead. I was struggling with many of those areas and it just wasn't getting better over time because the more I learned, the more I had to do and the more my own to-do list was growing as well. And so it took a lot of a lot of pain and struggle literally over many, many years as well. I remember thinking about things that I wanted to do in 2016, 2017, which is now almost a decade ago. And I often talk to with my colleagues and peers, other tech professionals who share a similar struggle. I feel like there's simply not enough time in the day. They tell me they barely have enough time for their personal lives, let alone thinking about big goals like investing, starting hobbies, or even travel that would, well, it must be nice and it would be nice to do those things. The pressure to do everything on themselves can be overwhelming. Initially, I had real concerns about trust. Many of you know that, well, we think about trust and security as one of our top priorities. Well, how could I allow someone else, a virtual assistant, into my business and personal life? I was worried about privacy, security, the risk of giving access to sensitive information like emails or passwords. And well, what if they did something on my behalf? What if they sent something that just wasn't the way that I would do it? Right? The idea of someone else managing my inbox felt like too much of a leap and it just really felt uncomfortable. But I slowly realized that the right tools and process in place, I could create a safe, controlled environment using things like LastPass or other password security tools to share secrets in a way where they didn't actually have to see the passwords themselves, but they could just plug it in and log into where the systems were. Of course, on the level that I provided, that certain access level, I could use things like Loom to screen record videos that I could show my assistants exactly how to do specific tasks. And I could use Notion or some other document repository where I could store my standard operating procedures so that they the VAs, the virtual assistants had a reference point as well. So here's an example right now. Even as I'm putting this episode together, I'm recording this, I've already been thinking about how I once get this completed with recording that it's going to get published by someone else. It's going to be once it's published, an assistant of mine is going to be able to take these links, update a social media calendar with different links, and organize them in a calendar for me so I don't have to go get them all myself as well. And so that saves me a ton of time and a ton of headspace where I can prepare just doing the episode and thinking about what is it I want to communicate. And I can know that once it gets published, a lot of the things will get taken care of. Now, it's true, some of those things I had to do on my own first a couple of times to make sure that I know the process and I've worked out the kinks. And from there, I can record that process and say, all right, in this given situation, let me walk through and screen record that process and give direction along the way. We're all used to doing some kind of templatizing of our work, right? Well, be that code or some other standard operating procedure. And this is just the same thing, just for personal life or just for your own investing business or own maybe something else that you want to build on the side that you just don't want to be doing anymore because you know you can train someone else to do it and correct it over time. Another example is how my system is helping to adjust my calendar and help me figure out my availability so that when I need to schedule meetings with people, it's only based on the time that I have available. This could be that transforming and changing my availability link on a Calendly as an example for podcast guest bookings or for meetings with other investors or just meeting with my friends as an example. And a practical example of someone else who maybe doesn't have those same kind of needs, but let's say someone else in their tech job. An example of if you're still an employee like myself who it may not have a business and thinking, all right, like this sounds great, but how do I apply this? Well, let's take this from a real life example. You're working a lot of hours in your job. I'm sure you're still doing, taking care of errands, taking care of meal planning. You might be doing things with your friends, your hobbies, whatever else. Virtual assistant can do things like research for you, right? They can help to even if you have done some of the research yourself by using AI tools, ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever, Claude, etc. Once you get direction that you want, you can say, "Hey, do record. I want these things, this result. This is why it's important." Right? They can help to do planning and organizing some family travel, helping to maybe take the itinerary that you provided and to go do some of that initial research for you as well so that you can help pick and they can book it for you. Yes, there's going to be things stacked on top of that, like permissions and this, that, and the other. And over time, trust needs to be built. But the point is, these are real results that they can help you with. They can handle with managing scheduling, of course. Again, email certain things, birthday reminders, order gifts on your behalf. And of course, researching other things for you, hobbies, activities, all that kind of stuff that maybe might take some extra validation after you've done some initial research with an AI tool, as an example. So, just some ideas. And if you're not sure what to delegate, this is something that I have been using for different tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, as well to help you brainstorm. I remember when I was first thinking, okay, well, what are some of the things that might get in my way? Well, I'd have to trust someone else does it. Well, what are the things that I would even want to delegate? What are the things that I have that would be worth someone else to do, etc. But I would urge you to think about the idea of going back to the idea about the unique ability that we talked about on, well, the last episode with me, we're figuring out what it is that you love to do and what you want to become better at or already good at. And from there, determining that 80% of the task, like we're talking about. So here, you can ask questions like, what are things that VAs can be doing on my behalf, right? Other questions might be helpful or what tasks am I spending too much time on, right? What daily activities can someone else be doing with a bit of training? From there, I can use, again, AI to outline a rough SOP for tasks that I want to delegate, such as providing step by step instructions so that I can go through that a couple times, do a screen recording, give it to someone else. Just that act of learning how to train someone else on your tasks so that they can do them is going to free up your time. And by offloading responsibilities, is going to free up mental bandwidth and energy to focus on your job and explore hobbies and other things that you've been putting off too. So, again, just in the past, I thought, well, this might cost a bunch of money. I can't afford to do this. The reality is, the, if you're familiar with things like Ryan Holiday and the obstacle is the way, this is something where you can't you can't afford not to do it, right? If I want to scale and you want to scale with whatever you're doing, there's only so much that you can do through automation using software tools. Some tasks are still going to require people to do. And I had to learn how to delegate as well and be clear with the results that I wanted. Delegation itself is a skill. As many of us know, working with managers, leaders, etc., being able to clearly articulate what you want and give some of those resources and any other constraints there might be too is going to be really powerful, because this is the communication to help make sure that things get done not by your efforts directly but through others, and this is the same application for your life. I also considered, what if I could spend something like $10 an hour? Would that be worth it to get an hour back of my time? If I could spend time doing other things instead, what would those things be? How could I recharge more? Would that be 10 hours back, time back for myself so that I can get some rest while things are being taken care of? Would it be $10 so that I could go and spend an hour or two with friends or family that, doing something that I really enjoy? Could be an hour or two where I would spend more time learning a skill that I really wanted to learn that would either recharge me or just help me with whatever efforts I was doing, investing or learning how to create more content or whatever it is that would help me move forward in an area of life that I wanted. So, as tech professionals, we're systems people. And like anything else, we think about least privilege permissions, right? So, using everything I knew, I built systems that I can have someone else do so that they can operate it. This allows me to track what happens, check metrics, check the outputs, and have confidence that things are getting done. Although not always perfectly, that's okay. There's always a learning curve for myself and for whoever else might be doing that task instead. But remember, and this is a quote that I got from Dan Martell from the book Buy Back Your Time, which is 80% done by someone else is still 100% awesome. So I think I just wanted to tell you this story to talk about many of the lessons that I learned over time, thinking about unique ability, thinking about least privilege, thinking about systems, and thinking about what the opportunity cost of if you could spend $10 to get an hour back of your time, what would it be worth for you to get that time back? If you could spend $50 to get 5 hours back, as an example. And by the way, I'm using $10 as a generic number. There's going to be all different sorts of levels based on what you need, but this is just the idea of opportunity cost here as well. So now that you know what's possible, let's get into some of the lessons here and just some takeaways so that you can do the same. Okay, the first thing in that first lesson is to think about that unique ability. Go back to that episode, and if you haven't already, have go through those exercises so that you can figure out what yours is. This will give you that self-awareness so that you can think about, all right, what questions do come up for me that I can think about? What are the things that I can offload? What are the things that I really do enjoy? What are the things that I want to get better at so that I can think about what my 80% of other things is? And that 80% I'm talking about, just to clarify, is that the Pareto principle, right? 80-20, or the 20% of things that I should be focusing on with my time that gives me the highest yield, highest results, highest production of whatever it is that I'm focusing on. Maybe the highest enjoyment, as an example, right? And so the other 80% are all the other things that might be needed in order to focus on that 20%, right? So that's what I'm talking about. All right, so quick lessons and takeaways. The first thing is that you want to make sure that you know and have some kind of good idea about your unique ability. This is the things that you're good at and you like and you want to get better at. Now, when I talk about offloading the 80%, just to dive into this and just give an explanation again, when we talk about 80%, this is the 80-20 principle, or the Pareto principle for many of you that know this. It's that what 20% of things can I focus on that will give me the majority of the results? All right. So when you know that, then you know that everything else that's not that 20% is the 80% of things that would be great if someone else could do for you instead. All right. So once you know that, you want to offload that 80%. Look at your week, identify the tasks that take up most of your time, but don't really add that value. And these are the perfect areas for delegation. One of the ways that people will prescribe how to do this is use something like a time tracker or a task tracker. Use something like Toggle as an example, which you can set and keep track of your activities. Now, this doesn't have to be perfect, but doing this even for a week for some kind of time study will give you a sense of awareness of how you're really spending your time. So that's what I urge you to do as well. Second here is experiment with platforms. So there are platforms to, well, find assistance, right? This could be things like Upwork or onlinejobs.ph, even Fiverr in some cases to find qualified virtual assistants. And it's also great places where you can get other help as well, maybe for ad hoc or one off jobs if you want to test how this might work. So this episode is just an overview, right? But getting familiar with these platforms is an excellent first step. In a future episode, I'll cover how to work with VAs more effectively. But for now, just browse through these sites and see what's possible. For the third lesson here is you want to start small and build trust. Really, trust with the process, trust with someone else that you might be working with as well, so that you can see what this is like, getting familiarity with delegating, outsourcing some of these tasks too. So begin small, simple tasks like organizing, an inbox, scheduling messages, build trust over time with your assistant becomes familiar with your preference. So create SOPs by writing out some of the steps, right? Or use something like AI so that you can do a voice message to and watch some of those SOPs get being created for you. And then record that loom so that you can show this is how you like certain things done, send it off, and just continue to iterate. So even a rough outline with whatever you come up with can help your assistant get started, and you can go from there. Remember, this is an investment in getting time back, investment in skill, investment in opportunity to actually move into something else as well. All right. Again, using right tools here. Another takeaway is Loom. Loom is a great screen recording tool. Go ahead. If you want to check out others, you can as well. But this one has been something I've been using for the last 2 years, a year and a half or 2 years now. And I got it from a group and a mastermind I'm in. And it's absolutely awesome. You can build you can build many SOPs and you can build a whole business around these type of playbooks. So it's easier than having like a Google sheet or something like that and, doing an unlisted video on YouTube and embedding it. You totally can, but there's other AI tools that are built into Loom itself as well to help with the creation of things like an SOP or other transcribing or things like that, which are quite helpful. So that's something I would say. I also mentioned Notion for helping you to store and organize SOPs through different directories, LastPass, or something else to help with secure password sharing. Of course, having these different tools makes everything smoother, as you know. And then finally, just get started. Just get started. Take massive action here. Do not wait for perfection. And I mean this sincerely because I've burned way too much time on this. I thought, all right, well, how many steps do I need? How much granularity do I have to have for someone else to be able to do this task and do it well? Right? Just start outsourcing. Try to start a task today and just iterate as you go. Your delegation skill will build over time. Each step forward gets you closer to scaling your efforts to take so that you can free up time for more higher value activities. And that's the entire point. Getting time back so that you can free up your time and energy for higher value activities. So, a couple practical tips here. First things first is just brainstorm. Write down 3 time consuming tasks that you would want to get started with now. Experimental platforms. Go and just pull these up. Go to an Upwork on onlinejobs.ph. Go to Fiverr if you've never been there before, and go ahead and look at the types of tasks that you could outsource, the type of VAs that might be there as well. Use some AI tool, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever, to brainstorm other ways to delegate and get an idea of how SOPs can be created. Say, hey, I am wanting to get this kind of result so that, and then insert your purpose so that, uh, the reason why you want something done and then make me some kind of SOP using this tool or that tool or whatever type of software so that this can be done. And just see what pops up. Get an idea. Start playing with these tools and systems and think about what would someone else need to know? What would my audience need to know? What would my assistant need to know so that they could do this thing, so that I could take this sheet of paper, whatever, hand it to someone else and they could go do it. And then really, what's one thing that you could offload right now so that you could free up time so that you could do something else meaningful? Start thinking about this. All right. That's all I have for today. I just wanted to share that. This is something that has been really beneficial for me, and I've been offloading more and more of my tasks over time. The more that I work with my assistants, the more I see that my instructions don't have to be perfect, but I want to be clear with the result. I want to be clear with the purpose and why it needs to be done. And I want to give some constraints as well and say, hey, do this in X amount of time, right? If you spend about a couple hours on this, and if you show me once you've gotten this far, or if you've done this much research, come back when you've hit to this place. That way I can see the results and I can continue to work with them. And as they work with me more, we're going to get to understand each other's style a lot more, just like you'd be working with anyone. It's the same thing. So in this way, I've been able to offload more and more. I'm super excited to start working with my assistants, so then they're creating SOPs as well to continue to build the database of our SOPs so that more and more people can be coming on to get some of that work done. It doesn't happen overnight. Just like anything, it is going to be a process, but taking those small steps time after time and time again is that 1% compounding, and that really makes a big difference. So with that, I really don't have anything else for you, any other resources right now to point to, but I would check out those tools like I mentioned, and just go and get started. I'd love to hear what you come up with. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram, shoot me an email. My information is in the show notes. And if you want to connect on this on a one-on-one basis, I'm more than happy to chat with you. You can set up a meeting with me as well. Just reach out to me and just with a keyword of just say time, TIME, and from there we'll just set up time. And I'm more than happy to share more in-depth systems and ways I go about doing this to help you as well. This is not something that I have down and perfect. I'm still learning here, but I do think that every tech professional should be able to delegate, should be able to dedicate some resources, some money to start getting your virtual assistants to help you. I communicate with them over Slack, communicate with them over some other type of messenger, so that you can start getting other things in your life taken care of to get back some of your time as well. And the cool thing is, the more you do it, the more you're going to see opportunities of more ways to buy back your time as well. And so I really think this is a great thing for you to do. Anyway, if you're ready to buy back your time and focus on what matters most, please, please, please get started. Thanks so much, and I will see you on the next episode. Bye. Thanks for joining us on another episode of Path to Passive. We love connecting with our listeners and those on the path to architecting their wealth and improving their lives. Feel free to let us know what topics you'd like to see in future episodes. Get in touch with us through email or Instagram. See you next week for a new episode.